grateful and having a sense of gratitude really does put you in alignment with understanding just the abundance of this earth and how we're all here together and what it gives us.
So hello, Lindsay. Thank you so much for coming on to the Coffee Talk podcast. If you don't mind, if you want to take a moment here to just introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, what you do, and all of that good stuff.
First, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to just have an opportunity to talk about sustainability. And that's kind of what I do. I have started a website called The Wellness Feed. And since late 2019, it's just been a platform where I and my small team, we just interview experts and brands and share tips and advice about living sustainably and ethically, eco-friendly, all those fun little buzzwords. And so that's kind of what I do, is just source out the best news and the best tips and brands that I can to help people live more eco-friendly.
Amazing. And so you said you started the Wellness Feed in 2019?
Yes.
So how did
in late 2019.
Was it mainly because of your love for sustainability? Like, how did it all begin?
So, I have a story where I was like, thought I found my dream job. I was writing for Paul Newman's Common Good. And after 2 months of starting there, they kind of shut their doors. And it hurt because there aren't many places that I know of where I could just write about nonprofits, and particularly nonprofits that were helping their community be more sustainable. So it kind of left me with a little bit more time on my hands. And I decided to kind of start my own website. I wanted to kind of create a space to share tips and advice that I gathered over the last several years. So you could say it's really about my love of just trying to be as mindful as we can with our actions. But it was also just because I wasn't finding a place to find, I wanted to find news. I wanted to find new brands all in one space. I would have like several different publications and newsletters I would follow, but I thought it'd be really cool if I could just have the Vogue, but of sustainable fashion, or just one place I know that is just about how to travel better in a greener way. So that's kind of how I started it in 2019.
Amazing. And so when would you say your relationship with things like sustainability, living more eco-friendly, when did that start for you? Was it at a very young age, or was it something you came into as you matured and grew older?
Definitely something I came into as I matured and grew older. It's funny, there were just a lot of moments that I look back on and I think, just seeing the lawns being watered and wondering, why do we waste so much water on gardening? But it really happened. There's this one aha moment when I was shopping for my daughter for jeans. And I remember there is this rainbow colored jeans sitting out in the store, and she's 2 and she's excited to see them. But as I got closer, there was this intense smell of this chemical smell. Mm-hmm. And at the time I didn't realize that they put formaldehyde on clothes and other chemicals. And, that made me think, okay, something's off here. And I started doing research, and it really just became this rabbit hole of finding out, okay, we put this chemical into our clothing. How does it affect our skin? How does it affect our bodies? Oh my gosh, when we throw this item out, how does it affect our soil? With even making those jeans, they're polluting waterways. So it was just this snowball moment where I just started being a lot more aware of our buying decisions and how things are made, and really wanting to make a change in my lifestyle and also inspire others.
Right. And so when that came about, how did you get started? Once you fell down that rabbit hole, that wormhole, because I've fallen down that wormhole too. I'm so interested, where did you begin? Because it's such a world. Once you open that door.
Oh yeah.
Close the door.
It is definitely this door that opens and you walk right in, and you can never really close the door.
Yeah.
The first place I started, actually kind of being a new mom, that was my first step. When you find out that there are chemicals in our clothing, chemicals in our products, and how that can affect your child that you're meant to protect. you become a little fierce. So I was sitting up and researching everything and, deciding on like, okay, bottles, a lot of the bottles now they have BPA free, but there's still plenty out there that are made with plastics that are laced with chemicals that are harmful to us. Working out and trying to use more recycled or thrifted clothing for her, because I found out that after a few washes, the chemical's a little bit better. And where I was living, they didn't have as many like organic or natural brands. Going with the food, going to buy more organic food, supporting local farmers as best as I can. Not buying as many like those brightly colored plastic toys, or just really researching brands that take into account how items are being made, how they're impacting. And it just, he said, it just snowballs from there. And then you start figuring out other areas of your life. So I started off at a place that was, that I was passionate about, and that was really emotional to me.
Amazing. And so obviously I've done some thorough looking and searching and reading of the wellness feed. So I know that it's a really good spot for finding things about fashion, finding things about food, finding things about travel, which you mentioned. Like there's such a range there. So I'm curious, like, how do you keep yourself inspired and also up to date with the newest information and the newest trends and such out there in sustainability and friendly living?
First off, thank you for the compliment. And secondly, I love this question. I think, being inspired, actually, for me, two different ways. It's kind of personal because I'm always looking for ways that I can just be a little bit more eco-friendly, waste a little less, have less plastic in my life. So, like this year, I just started using cotton rounds, reusable cotton rounds instead of cotton buds. And that was just finding out that something I didn't even know existed before, like, just little ways like that. And another way is, there's so many cool brands out there doing things to kind of solve these everyday problems of waste and how we're using our resources. And I think they are definitely an inspiration. I connected with PR firms that are just sending brands my way. And so I constantly feel inspired. I found out about underwear that you can compost the other day.
Wow.
Very cool. Yeah. So it's an exciting field, I think, because it's still slightly new. So there are a lot of different things we can do, a lot of new ideas going out there. So I kind of say I'm constantly just inspired by what people are doing.
That's amazing. So it's almost like you've built a system with doing what you do as well, and made these connections that constantly almost feed you the new inspiration as well.
Definitely. I would definitely say that. They're constantly just giving me great ideas and new products, and yeah.
That's amazing. So another thing that I've come into contact with that I find super interesting, and I'd love to hear your opinion on, is the term greenwashing, where there's lots of brands out there that use this, I guess, marketing tactic called greenwashing to make it seem like they're potentially more sustainable or more eco-friendly than they really are. And I think a lot of the times I myself have even fallen for this, oh, this brand is making such a big change and such a big move. So what are your thoughts on things like greenwashing? Is this something that you've done any type of research on or have any opinions on?
I think I definitely have done a lot of research on it. And I think, to me, it's unfortunate that there is greenwashing, because I think it creates a lack of trust among consumers and people who really do want to make the best choice they can with their fashion brands that they're going to support, or just anything that they regularly buy. I mean, you lose the trust of the customers. I mean, we're the ones that are really kind of fueling the economy, fueling these choices. So I think it's really sad that brands do that. And in my research, one of the things I do love is that there are those companies that will have an impact report. And I think that they're really valuable. I love just seeing, the companies that really take time to push those out yearly and show you how they have become more sustainable, or, if they've missed a goal, or reducing water waste, how they're just transparent about that. And that's one thing that I think I really do look for in sustainable brands. It's not about perfection. I won't always look at brands and I feel like we're the most sustainable in the world. I'm always like, thinking like greenwashing goes off. And
right.
But I think if a brand's honest and it's like, okay, this is what we do really well. We're working on this. We try here, or this is going to come. I look at those brands in a much better light, and I think that they're doing much more. They're doing more for the sustainable movement than the brands that try to just greenwash everyone and catch on to this trend. And yes, I think it's really unfortunate. I hate greenwashing. And I like everyone else, I've fallen for it sometimes. And I'm like, oh, this product is not really good for the environment.
What would you say then, like, what do you look for? Because you mentioned the transparency report that's like, this is how much we've made a difference just based on the last year. So are those like the main things you look for when trying to basically differentiate the difference between someone greenwashing versus someone who's actually making a change?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I love numbers. So I love a brand that like might measure their CO2 emissions, their water waste. I love a brand that will put the actual factories that they're working with, certifications, if a third party is vetting them to make sure that their fabrics are natural, like organic, that they're using clean dyes, that they are actually using recycled materials when they say that their bathing suits are made with recycled plastics. There are third parties that will audit all of that. So I always look for certifications. I look for brands that aren't just giving nice flowery words about the story. And that's beautiful, but when you want it to be truly sustainable, I love hard, cold facts. Maybe that's like my writing background where I'm like, okay, researching into journalism.
Yeah, just like full transparency, like here's the numbers. Like numbers don't lie. So
yeah.
That's a really
show me the numbers.
Yeah.
Show me the number.
Okay, so my next question is more of a personal opinion on your end, but when it comes to living more eco-friendly, living more sustainable, it's not that the information isn't out there. So do you think there's a reason why sometimes the general population might detach from the idea of sustainability or global warming, like not wanting to face the truth? Like, do you think there's a reason why there is a detachment there?
That's a good question.
Hard one.
Yeah, it's very hard. I would say, I think there are several different reasons. I would say, one is that our lifestyles that we're currently living on are the opposite of that. They're like, we live in a high, consumerist society. It's a lot about like waste, and it's a throwaway culture, and that fuels our economy, that makes things super convenient and easy, but it's not sustainable in the long run. So I think just the way that our society functions is one way. Another way, even though the information is out there, it might like hurt, it's going to hurt like fossil fuels, which a lot of industries are fueled by that. You have all these plastic water bottles and plastic bags, and even our cars. So I think that's another part of the puzzle is, okay, what are those companies going to do? And they're fighting to, sustain themselves and be, the leader in their field and to be a strong company. And, another part, it is weird. We do have all this information out there, but I think another part of it still is that we don't know. Like, if you look at some of the statistics about how long it takes plastic to recycle, I think the standard plastic they use for water bottles, it's said that it takes 420 years to decompose. Well, there hasn't been a plastic water bottle that's been around for 420 years.
Right.
So, we're really still learning about all of, the impact that we have on the planet and on ourselves. So I think the fact that we're still learning and gathering this information, the fact that our lifestyles are kind of the opposite of being sustainable at the moment. And, I think also big companies that are really adverse to change. I think they're in my opinion, I think there are three main areas why we don't all just live more sustainably, why the information really isn't kind of told to us a lot more often. I feel like it's stuff we should learn in school, but
right.
we don't.
Totally agree. It should it should be taught in school, especially now.
Yes.
If it wasn't for like our generations, then the newer generations should be getting it in school for sure.
Yes.
So over here on the Coffee Talk podcast, we talk a lot about how to manage life, how to stay positive, how to deal with challenges, and also we talk a lot about how to balance having a personal life and a business life. I think a lot of us over here have come together and bonded over the fact that we're all pretty ambitious, and that's why I want to talk to you guys today about Monday.com. Monday.com's Work OS allows teams of all size to collaborate with ease so that managers know what's going on without having to annoy people with check-ins. Work OS is flexible, transparent, and allows teams to create custom workflows for any task you're faced with. Work OS is all about productivity and scalability, so a podcast like the Coffee Talk, for example, can be organized and deliver great content. With the ability to customize the platform, you can create a workflow completely from scratch, or you can pick one of their templates and get started right away and then adjust it however you want as you go. And if you head over to Monday.com, you can actually start your free 2-week trial now. The best part is that you can use Monday.com whether you have a team of just you, a team of 2, a team of 5, or a team of 5,000. And if you're collaborating with, let's say, virtual assistants or virtual coworkers, then you can do so across the globe easily using Monday.com. Plus, it's really cool because it gives your team autonomy over how they work, and if you are a manager, then you have the assurance you need to focus on the bigger picture and delegate the tasks that you need to get done. Plus, with Monday.com, it's easy to be more mindfully productive. You can automate tedious work in seconds. Plus, it's easy to plan projects, update statuses, give feedback, and decide on the next steps all in one place. This is going to save you tons of time and human error, which is going to give you more time to focus on doing the things that you love. So sign up for your 2-week trial over at Monday.com today. Have you ever wanted to watch something, but you're kind of sick of the same shows and movies you're already seeing on your screen? This is just one of the many reasons that you might be interested in ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN lets you change your online location so that you can control where sites think you're located. All you have to do is open the app, select a location, tap one button to connect, and then refresh the page to access thousands of new shows and movies. You can choose from 100 different countries, like maybe watching Doctor Who on UK's Netflix, or watching anime on the Japanese Netflix, which is something that I've recently started doing, and it's definitely a whole new world once you open up the Netflix doors of other countries. There's also Star Trek Discovery on UK Netflix, or How I Met Your Mother on the Canadian Netflix if you aren't Canadian, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on Australian Netflix, and this works on any streaming device, including Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, and more. You can stream HD no problem without any buffering or lags, so nothing's going to slow down your systems, and it's compatible across all of your devices like laptops, media consoles, smart TVs, your phone, and all of that. And again, like I mentioned, not only does it change your location, but it also saves your data and lets you surf the web safely and anonymously. So check out expressvpn.com/Kalyn to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/KALYN. In life, we tend to have ride or dies. Maybe it's your dog, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your mom, but for me it's my sister. I mean, also my dog, but mostly my sister. Having a ride or die go-to is so crucial whenever you feel like you might need just a little pick-me-up or just a shift in energy for the day. And if you're looking for a ride or die on your phone, then download Best Fiends. If you like solving fun puzzles or really cute games, then Best Fiends is for you. The best part is that you don't need to be connected to Wi-Fi to play it, and there's thousands of levels with new levels being added all of the time. So every time you go on there, it's something fresh and new to play with. And not only that, you can challenge your ride or dies. For instance, I've been challenging my sister with Best Fiends, and still to this day, I mean, we've been doing this for a few months now, but she still hasn't caught up to me. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt though. She does have a new baby, which gives me the benefit of having a bit more spare time than she does. Plus, I love that there's new characters and new little games to play all of the time. For instance, right now, you can collect different cupcakes and win new levels based on those cupcakes. So I'm currently trying to gather my 75 cupcakes. I do have a few more days left. So if you're itching for a game that's got your back, specifically the part of your back that's, always itching for a puzzle to solve or something fun to do, then download the 5-star rated puzzle game Best Fiends for free today on the App Store or on Google Play. It's like Best Friends, but without the R. Is there anything in life that ever interferes with your happiness? I'm sure we all have different answers to this. And sometimes it's really beneficial to have an outside source or a third party to talk to about these things, especially if they're personal struggles. And to do so is really easy with the help of BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can even start communicating in under 24 hours. On top of that, you can connect in a safe and private online environment, making it super convenient but also super private. And you can send a message to your counselor at any time to either book a next therapy session or just give a general update. On top of that, this service is available for clients worldwide, and it's generally more affordable than traditional offline counseling. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. Things like depression, stress, anxiety, grief, trauma, and so much more. And anything you share is confidential. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're actually recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. So if you want to start living a happier life today and find somebody that you can speak with and unpack your life with, then check out BetterHelp. As a listener, you can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/coffeetalk. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health by going to betterhelp.com/coffeetalk.
When you started transitioning to a more sustainable lifestyle, did you sense any type of pushback from people in your close circle, or and if not, what would you say would be your advice to someone who is trying to make that transition if, let's say, they live with a husband or parents or a family that isn't ready or isn't open to making that same transition?
Another good question. So I didn't receive a lot of pushback, thankfully, within my circle and with the people that I surround myself with. And maybe I also wasn't as vocal at first. Okay. And I think that was because I was a little bit shy about sharing it because I grew up in a household where macrobiotic and holistic and vegan, everyday words. But during the 80s and 90s, it was, considered like child abuse. It just wasn't something that people really did. Okay. So I kind of am already used to the idea, I live my life, but not everyone's going to agree with it. So I would say to anyone that does receive that pushback, be kind, because a lot of times I think it stems from people's insecurity and that unwillingness to change or feeling that they're doing something wrong. So, in your sustainable life, don't try to push it on them, but be kind. And secondly, the same thing with how I grew up in this, the vegan movement and holistic. Things do change. You never know, in 10 years, everyone could be coming to you for advice about, living plastic free or living more sustainable and zero waste. Whereas, right now it's still kind of budding and becoming a normal thing that we do. A normal way that we live. Right. So I would say, patience, be kind, and keep doing you. And little by little, I think, and just little by little. So if you live with someone and, they use plastic bags, it's okay. But
nice about it.
Yeah, you just feel I have this reusable bag that I would love to give you.
Slowly hands the reusable bag over.
Yes. Just try it out.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so anybody that is interested, let's say, that's maybe not sustainable at all, this is completely new to them. I think that even just in my own conversations that I've had with people, there's sometimes this misconception that living more sustainable or more eco-friendly or eco-conscious will mean that you miss out on a lot. You miss out on good food, or you miss out on nice clothes. Yeah. And you write a lot about that on your website. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'd say first thing, shake it off. Shake off all that pressure, that idea that you're missing out. You're not. There are so many great brands out there, and I felt so thankful that I've been able to connect with, a lot of brands that are making beautiful clothes, restaurants that are delivering amazing food. And you're not. Maybe a little bit, if you're a shopaholic, I probably used to shop a lot more in my 20s. I don't do that as much now, because I'm a little bit more aware of the impact, and then also, I have accrued a lot of stuff. But in the end, I also buy things that I really love and wear a lot more. So I don't think yeah, you're not missing out. Come over there. I think there's just a lot of people who are doing amazing things to kind of fill in those gaps of items that we love. And we also have a lot of, vintage pieces. I kind of fell in love with that. So yeah, no, you're not missing out.
Let's say then someone's like, okay, I'm hooked, I'm interested, I want to learn about sustainability. What would you say are like 3 things they can instantly start looking into? Like you just mentioned vintage pieces. So it's like 3. What are some other areas that are really easy to start with?
I think one area that's really easy to start with, maybe not necessarily kind of like an area, but like reusable products. I would always say, a reusable water bottle. I mentioned using cotton rounds to kind of take off my makeup at night instead of using those wipes. You get into the plastic container and you wipe it off and you throw it away once. Get a cotton round and something that you kind of just wash and reuse. I think reusable products are a great way to start because they allow you to just make quick little swaps. Instead of taking plastic bags, bring your own reusable tote to the grocery store, or even when you're going shopping for clothes. I think that, bring your coffee mug. For all different ways to just start small, make little changes, and kind of create this habit of reducing waste, reducing your plastic use, and making a really big impact. And buying secondhand, I think that's another great way now because we have so many resources. I love vintage, but there are sites that have more modern pieces. If people want to buy fashion or furniture, look into some of those and just try to shop from those places instead to kind of reduce waste and this idea of constantly having new items.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite sustainable brands? What are your go-tos?
Ooh, my go-tos. For fashion, I really like to shop on The Real Real, their secondhand site. So that's kind of one of my big go-tos. I like Reformation. I know that they had little tweaks and controversies about kind of their factories in Los Angeles, but I think that they're a brand that shows their impact reports. So I'm excited to kind of read how they've improved from last year and just follow them for that. I think that they're great for lots of cute dresses. There's a brand called Christy Dawn. They make really gorgeous organic cotton or dresses that are made from dead stock materials, which are materials that they're there, they just have never been used. So another brand focuses on reducing waste. I also love Thread Up for my daughter. They have a lot of cute little kids items, and we have these boxes, and it's just a nice way to kind of take these boxes to the recycling bin and actually break them down. So they're kind of they're definitely a few of my go-tos.
Okay, those are some good ones. I mean, I recently actually heard of Reformation too, and got one of those really nice dresses and loved it. So they are awesome. So what would you say is the biggest obstacle to sustainable living in your own personal experience and then just in general?
My own personal experience, I would definitely say the fact that we live in this consumerist lifestyle, and it's really just, it's based on consuming and convenience. So getting the idea of, I don't want to bring a bigger bag today or carry a heavy water bottle. I'll just buy a bottle when I'm out. Just changing my mind and saying, no, it's better if I use a reusable water bottle, refill it while I'm out, just bring the bigger bag or bring a shopping tote when I go to the store. At first, some of those changes, they feel a little awkward. They feel a little weird, but they after a while, they really do make sense. And, I think that is just changing my mindset has been the biggest obstacle. I was actually talking to someone today about just how we take plastic bags that we get from the store and you put those in the trash bins. I don't know if that's something you ever do, but I grew up doing that. And so it took me a while to even think I'm putting my kitchen scraps, organic matter in these plastic bags that don't allow it to decompose properly. And like, and just like stopping and thinking and trying to change my mindset, I would say that's the biggest obstacle, changing your habits, and just being aware that of how we live is my personal biggest obstacle.
Do you feel like it took you a while to really work through breaking that mindset that you were in before? So like when you would have those moments, because I feel I have those moments too where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to, like, I don't want to bring my reusable water bottle.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it took you some time to get there, or like how did you work through that process?
I'd say yes, it definitely took me time to get there. And one thing I love about the wellness speed is that it kind of makes me feel like I need to be more accountable. So I try to get harder. But yeah, it wasn't an overnight thing. It definitely takes a bit of time to become a habit and to stop and to think, and want to make a better impact and have a better change, in our lifestyles.
Amazing. And then what would you say has been the biggest blessing living this way?
Ooh, I love this question. I love this one. My biggest blessing, we talk about sustainability a lot and the environmental impact, but a lot of times we don't always talk about the human impact. And so I love the idea that I can buy from a brand that will give back, or a brand that is, this dress, the way that it's made and the way that it's dyed, they recycle the water and they use safer dyes so that it's not polluting the rivers, in the community where it's made. And I like knowing that. I think that is such a blessing to be able to impact someone's life, or know that, what I'm wearing was made ethically and people were paid fairly so that they can actually support themselves instead of having a minimum wage that still puts them below the poverty level, and they might need government assistance if they can't afford that, or they might have to, I don't like the idea of supporting those sort of brands. So it's such a blessing that I feel that I'm able to make shopping choices that I know are positively impacting someone instead of having a negative impact on their life.
Right. That's an amazing answer. I feel like that's not thinking, because we look at it so much in the aspect of like the earth, but we never really think about how it impacts every individual. So that's an amazing answer.
Thank you.
So what would be your greatest piece of advice when it comes to living in alignment with yourself, but also with the earth?
My biggest piece of advice, I love this one as well. I would say I'd sum it up in 2 words. I think it would be gratitude and service. Those are 2 words that have changed my life. And I've noticed, I listen to a lot of podcasts like yourself, but I love like Deepak Chopra, I think that's how you say his name, or like Oprah or Tony Robbins. These, heavyweights, these people who are very influential and successful. And I've noticed that those are 2 words that they say and reuse a lot. And I think when you want to be in alignment with yourself and this planet, I have a mindfulness journal that I just write in not every day, but as often as I can. And I just write 1 line of what I'm thankful for that day. It could be just tasting a strawberry, or the fact that it was just a beautiful sunny day after a week of rain, or something else. Like, so, I had a lot of laughter. So just being grateful and having a sense of gratitude really does put you in alignment with understanding just the abundance of this earth and how we're all here together and what it gives us. And I think when you feel that sense of gratitude, you want to serve, you want to help other people around you, you want to, plant trees because you know that it's just better for the planet. So I'd say, my biggest 2 words for that would be, definitely gratitude and service.
That's an incredible answer. I feel like it sounds like you scripted it. Like, I'm like, how? Where did that come from? So that's amazing. I feel like, I feel like that's a great place to leave it. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Is there anything else that you would like to share or say or goodbye?
I think the only thing, yeah, maybe there's one thing I would say, people that are maybe, they're tuning in or they just found you. I think self-education is so important with understanding, sustainability. Like I think when you mentioned greenwashing, I think that it's important to kind of, check out the wellness feed or, check out your podcast or follow influencers that you see on Instagram or watch a documentary. I think it's so important to just really take a little bit of time and learn. Yeah, that's the one thing I would add, but your answers they're really insightful. I had a lot of fun. So I was looking at them and I was like, this is really good. I'm excited for this one to come out.
I'm really excited too. And I'm so glad that you took your time and energy to come today and share your knowledge and share your perspective. And I'll leave all of your information in the description box so people can start coming to the wellness feed, because I really do feel like you cover so many amazing topics where it's like you want to learn about beauty, but you also want to learn about travel. Like there's something for everyone there, and you've covered so much. So I'll definitely leave it in the description box. And thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing everything you shared today.
Well, thank you, Kalyn. Thank you so much for having me. I know I reached out. I was looking at us I reached out last year. So this is perfect and really exciting. So, happy Earth Day.
Oh yes, and happy Earth Day. We're recording this on Earth Day. So that aligned.
Enjoy the rest of your Earth Day.
Yes. Enjoy. Bye.